Welcome to. Oh no, it's not to. Welcome to intersection chats. I will was going to invite you to the podcast, but it's not. Today is intersection chat. So we are going to be talking about personal brand story and email marketing, and I am delighted to have here today Shannon. Thank you for accepting this invitation.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, Remy. I'm excited to chat about this with you.
Yeah. So please tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, hello. I'm Shannon, aka Mrs. Vondi, aka the email queen. And I am obsessed with helping business owners use email to make money in their businesses.
Nice. And we are going to be talking today about how using storytelling in the email marketing and all that good stuff. So I will start by asking you, what is in your experience the connection between personal brand story and email marketing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like my whole story wraps up in email and everything. So, yeah, I mean, I fell into email because I've been running a business for 10 years. When 2020 happened and my back was against the wall, I literally almost lost my entire 10-year business in a few months. And I realized, I thought I had tried email before. I'd heard it was something that was like really good. Um, but I never saw results with it the few times I sent an email. Well, once had a minute to research some more and teach myself quite a bit about email, I realized I'd just been using it wrong. And I wasn't using story in my
Mm,
email. I wasn't putting my personality in there. I was just sounding like a robot when I'd send emails. So I thought, you know what? I have nothing to lose. Like literally, my business is almost gone. Let me just try sending an email again and see what happens. And so I sent a much more personal email and I actually made $2,600. And I
mm.
was like, mm, hold on. Is this what people are talking about when they say email is really lucrative? I didn't believe it. So I actually tried it a few more times and I wound up making even more money. By the end of the year, I think I made like $13,000 just from email. And I was like, okay, someone needs to teach people this. Like, why is no one teaching this? So that's kind of how I fell into it. And I love storytelling. I love the way they can go together, honestly.
Mm. Yeah, I agree on that. I feel like email marketing is one of the places where real storytelling can have a big role in, of course, in building the trust with the audience. And it's like, not just about selling or telling the story or teaching, but all of the above. And then also how you create that genuine connections. And I like how through storytelling you can open loops, and it's not just in one email, but you are like building up on the stories and going back to things that you mentioned before. So I feel there is this intimate relationship with the people reading your emails, and it's a great way to build authority, to generate that trust that is so important for
Exactly.
them to decide to go and buy from you.
Exactly, exactly. And I think a lot of times, at least I used to, and I know a lot of my people in my world, students, all of that kind of stuff, think you have to be so impersonal in email, right? Because of the emails we get that are like nonstop from like companies, right? And they send these like very basic generic emails. And so we think we need to model ourselves after those, where when we don't, and when we act like ourselves in our emails and treat it like a community, which is what it is, but we kind of forget that, right? And like once you treat it that way, you see the most epic results with it. And that's often what I find is a big problem that people have when they try and use email, or the idea of using email feels really impersonal, but it's actually the most personal in many ways because you're allowed in their inbox. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mm.
it's a very personal place to be. And so I think sometimes that we get wrapped up backwards when it comes to how to think about email, and that it's not just a here buy my thing. It's really a connection and a place to build community.
Mm, yeah, and something that you touch is that idea of how we receive those cold emails impersonal. And I feel like email marketing is a great place to show your voice. And something that I talk a lot is about the how in different channels. I want people to feel the same way when they get in touch with me. And it doesn't make sense that maybe you are super warm person when you are like on social media in your videos, but then your email sounds like corporate in a way and impersonal way. And it's like,
Yes.
okay, I want to feel that is the same person, the one that is writing the emails, than is answering to a DM or in a video.
Exactly. Exactly. Because it is really jarring when, because I often do this. I don't know if other people do, if I'm just email obsessed, but like I'll find somebody on social and I'll like their stuff. But like if you follow somebody on social, there's no guarantee you're ever going to see their content again because of the way the algorithm works. And so I will sometimes try and get on their email list because I'm like, well, that way I know I'll hear from them again. And so many times, yes, exactly. Like I'll get these emails and I'm like, who's this? Like, this isn't who I just met online. And I think it is hard to think of how we want to show up differently when you're able to talk like this versus in an email. But honestly, you could use the exact same strategy for how you're communicating to somebody in an email. It's just in a written form. But again, it's because I also say too, it's because we don't get any instant gratification with email, which I think that throws a lot of people off, or they think it doesn't work, is because often you send something and you don't hear anything, right? Because it's email. We don't, it's weird. It's intimate. Again, we like don't think it is, but it is. It's weird to like reply to somebody to be like, oh, hi, you just feel very strange to do that when you don't know them. Like, emailing you is very different than emailing somebody I haven't met before. And so I think that because we're not getting a like, a comment, whatever, when we send an email, we can easily tell ourselves it's not working, or I'm not saying the right thing, or people aren't interested. But they're probably sitting there more interested because they're reading you while they're like picking up their kids at school or in line for coffee, right? They're taking you with them to intimate places too. They're not always doing that with social, right? I mean, maybe sometimes we do scroll in bed a lot, but you know what I'm saying? Like it is such an intimate connection, but we don't always frame it that way.
Mm, yeah, and I feel like I want to ask you your opinion in something, but yeah, I agree on this idea of how you get to build a relationship with the person, and sometimes we don't get that like sign that things are working, or they are reading through it. I want to know your thoughts on something. I know that I subscribe to a lot of newsletter and emails and all of that, because yeah, I have been analyzing launches when I was focusing on course creation. I keep having that, and I have a lot of folders when I see an email that I like. So I have these emails examples that I like and things like that. So, but something that is kind of tricky for me is whenever someone that I haven't received an email in a long time, they write to me and I have no idea who this person is. And then I read the
Mhm.
email. I don't know what they do. I don't know who they are, but they are talking as we are having a continuous conversation, but I don't know that. I know that it's a newsletter and it's not a personal email, which is okay. But then it's like maybe if they have a little picture of themselves, or a link that, or a tagline that give me a bit of more understanding of who they are. I like the simple email without HTML and all that. But I would love to know your thoughts on that, because it's like how you make people, how you give them clues for those who are not following all the time. And then sometimes it's like, okay, who was this person?
No, I'm really glad you brought that up because I think that all the time too. Because same, I'm subscribed to. I say I'm a serial signer upper to email lists. But same thing. I'll open an email. I'm like, who is this again? And I've even like unsubscribed because I didn't realize who it was. And then I get to the unsubscribe page and I see who it was, and I'm like, oh no, wait, I want to get those. And then sometimes I resubscribe. They must be like, who is this psychopath? But I I feel like I'm screaming this all the time. I probably need to say it even more, but I feel like, yes, we should have something in there to refresh people's memories. I love the idea of a picture or like a signature sign off or something like that. I also think a link. How many times is there not even a link to a
Yeah.
website or even social? Like it doesn't have to be anywhere crazy, but like even just at the very bottom in your footer, you could have just like your social links, or you, and one could be your website if you want it to be. I mean, I think I have my, like, it's literally just says like the emailclub.co and then it has the social links, right? So you could just click on those and easily refresh your memory as to who
Mhm.
I am and how you got on this list too, because often we don't remember to, right? Like how many times you sign up for something, you're like, when did I get this? Or they have a weird, completely different topic on their email and you're like, who is this? So yeah, I think it's really important to at least have some sort of link to something else about you so that people can figure it out. Because most people, I'll do this. I don't know if you do, Remy. I'll go and like copy their email if it has their business address, right? But sometimes it doesn't.
Mm.
Um, and I'll go look
Yes.
sometimes, right? If I have time and I feel like doing it. But most people aren't going to do that. You know what I mean? Most
Yeah.
people are just going to delete or unsubscribe.
Yeah, 100%. And then the other thing that is really interesting to me, and I am always thinking about how people can use storytelling there, is the subject line. Because, of course, you can write this super nice email or interesting or genius, but then if they don't open the email, it's like, yeah, it's there, but they are not reading it. So I like to make people think about storytelling in a way that doesn't need to be a long story. And it can be a sentence or it can be something quick that is a
Hmm.
reference and you open a loop and maybe you spark the curiosity. But I would love to know your thoughts on how can people make their subjects, um, including some storytelling, but also this idea of, okay, how they make people open the email. And I received your newsletter. I know that you are really good at doing that in your newsletter,
Thank you.
but I would love to know your top tip for people listening.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, I know if you would have asked me many years ago, like, or told me I was going to be really good at subject lines, I would not have believed you. Like, it was not my forte for many eons of my life. But now that I do email all the time, it's like one of my superpowers. So something I think about is, would I open this, right? That's like my
Mm,
first thing I think of is like, would I open this? And I'm picky, you know what I mean? Like I subscribe to a lot of newsletters. I don't open a lot of newsletters, you know what I mean? You got to get me in. So I always think, would I open this? One. And then two, I think what a lot of people kind of like don't think to do, or maybe they do, but like can't think of the best way to do this is, I like to write my whole email first. So, and then write my subject line. Sometimes I will have an idea for the subject line first, and that's fine. But usually I will write my whole email first, and then I will pull something out of that to create the subject line. So, like that way I can find something like kind of silly or intriguing or interesting to people. Like I have a client, I wrote an email for her not too long ago, and she also does email, which is funny, but I wrote one for her and she loves pickles. And so I included something about like her favorite pickles in it. And so I just said like pickles and cats or something was like the subject line. And she was like, I got so many opens because people were just freaking out that it was just like, they were like, what? Like it almost didn't calculate as it made sense, but not to her
mm,
people, her true people. They were like, I know this is from her. But from people who don't know her that well, they were really intrigued because they're like, "Oh, what?" So I love to just find unique things in the email itself that I can kind of pull from or open that loop, like what you're saying,
mm.
like open the loop to that story so that it pulls people in and they're like, wait, what was it about cute cats that I need to know? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I love that. And I feel like curiosity is one of the big things that we can use
Yeah.
in storytelling in general, in any channel, because it's like, yeah, you want people to like, as when you are in the other side, I always invite people to think about the content that they consume or how they like things in the movies or in the books, like what piques your attention. I, for example, love to tell people how you can use this narrative angle when you start sharing the story in the middle of the scene. How when you start a book and
Yeah.
it's in the middle and you want to know, you don't know what is really happening, but you for sure want to keep reading because you want to know,
Yes.
and you get immersed in the moment just when you start reading. And I feel like that is can be applied to social media content, email marketing, or even when you are doing public speaking. And
Totally.
again, it's a narrative angle. You can share the same story in different ways and use a different one, and be not super bored of yourself and being able to repeat things. I feel like, and this is something, yeah, maybe I would love to know your thoughts on this, how we repeat our concepts and keep talking about the things that we want to talk. For some of my clients, I know that they feel that a bit like, how I'm going to repeat all the time and be talking about the same things and all that. But I know for sure that if I go back to my content of 6 months ago, there would be something that I don't remember now. And I would say, oh, this is good. But I don't remember now. And I wrote it, or I, I tell in a video. So what are your thoughts about being repetitive, and how maybe even using storytelling and strategy can be a great way to be consistent, which is one of the ways to be repetitive. uh, Not repetitive, but repeat your topics. So
Sure.
what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, ultimately, I think we have to repeat ourselves, right? Because not everyone reads everything we do. Not everyone sees everything we do. So yes, I think it's really important. And I love what you said too, of like, you can go back 6 months and you could probably even send the exact same email you sent 6 months ago.
Mm.
And people aren't going to remember. They're going to read it differently. You could mix it up differently. You can also do the same thing with different content, right? So you could pull from like a social post and turn it into an email, or vice versa, or any content, right? So I think it is important that we're repeating ourselves, but we can also use storytelling to repeat concepts in a little bit different way. So I love to do things, a friend of mine calls it like limbic storytelling, but like I think of it more of like an analogy, right? So I'll use something like talking about something very I just feel like I just wrote an email about this. Like I just talked about like F1 racing because one of the drivers I love did really well. And it was kind of a cool story of like not giving up and perseverance and all of this. So I told this story about how they won this race. It was a big deal. But then I showed how in email, like basically you have to keep showing up. You know what I mean? If you give up too soon, it's not going to work for you. And so you need to keep doing this in email, right? So I took a story, and you could take any kind of stories. We have a saying in my membership that everything is an email. Literally everything in your life is an email. And so you can pull anything, like going to the grocery store, right? Or going to any experience you have. It could seem so boring, but it can absolutely tie into your offer and your storytelling. And like what I love about email is you have more space to tell a story, whereas like in social we want to keep things a little bit shorter because we don't have as long of attention span. But when you're telling a good story in an email, it can be as long as you want, you know what I mean, like, or as short as you want too, right? I think a lot
Yeah.
of times we think emails have to be so long, but like it's not a blog post, there's no word count. You can tell a 4 sentence story if you want in an email, you know, like it doesn't need to be crazy. And sometimes I love playing with different formats in email too to see what people respond to, um, and what they're into, right? And like, so yeah, I think that it's really important that we're repeating our message because at the end of the day, it is marketing, right? Like, yes, I know, um, it's different formats of marketing and different ways of marketing, but at the end of the day, we are marketing our businesses. So you have to have a repeatable message. But I think it all can change based on whatever story you want to use to tell or share your messaging.
100%. And I feel like with these analogies, one of the things that I love is bringing your own, um, like for example, past work experience that is totally unrelated, or your academic background, thinking about hobbies, and any in any of these places, you can think of those elements that are connected to the value that you bring, or some unique angle that you bring in your way of doing things. For example, I have a client that she's a life coach or a transformational coach. And for her, it was really important to highlight how questioning things is something big for her. Like even to her clients, she's inviting them to, hey, question everything, even what I said. And for her, because she was working before in a lab as a scientific, she was
Mm.
using an example from there about like miss like checking the quality of the scales before doing a process, and she was able to change a protocol because it didn't make sense. And she was like, and this was a protocol written in paper, and it's something that she questioned, and at the end they said that, okay, yeah, you have is clear that we can do this in a better way. So this idea of questioning things, she can go and use a story that is totally unrelated to what she does now and use that. And I invite everyone to do the same. Think about what is something that is unique to your approach, and how in your past, in your journey, there are some moments where that has been the case as well. How you can bring that as a story that you can use in your examples, in your writing, or when you are a podcast guest or anywhere. And this is something that I really like. When you have clarity on your stories, you can use it in all different places. And one of the
Exactly.
things that I like is how email marketing, email especially, is a great channel for when you want to go into a different level of privacy. Because one of the things that is really important to me is how you are the one deciding what you share and what not. You don't need to be forced to share something or be vulnerable. You decide what you want to share. And I always say that how you can share the same story but in different levels of privacy. And how, for example, if you go you are in social media, you just share something superficially, but then in the email you have a space where it's like closer to your people, and then there you can explain a bit more. And maybe when you are doing the onboarding of a client, one-on-one client, you use part of that story as a way to show that you are creating a safe space. And it's the same story, but you share in different ways. And I
Hmm.
always like to use the example of email marketing as the second place, because I feel that that's like a more intimate space than the social media.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like that's actually an interesting thing you bring up too is I think sometimes email feels so permanent, right? Like you send it and you can't unsend it. You know, like if you post
Mm,
something, you could delete it or you could turn off comments or whatever, right? But when you send an email, it's like, so I think that sometimes people get a little scared to do that. But ultimately, you're hopefully, if you're doing email correctly, attracting your people to your
mm,
list, right? You're not attracting the weirdos to your list. And every now and then, yes, I mean, like I know a girl who sometimes she'll share, like, oh, this person replied this, and she's like, why are they even on my email list? You know what I mean? Like, do they
yeah,
not understand what I do? And she just deletes them off her list and moves on with her day. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I always love to tell people this too, it's an email. You know
yeah,
what I mean? It's an email. Like
yeah,
if somebody is freaking out over a little less than 1 inch thing on their device, because they got too many or they don't like something you said or whatever, it's
yeah.
an email. Like it's more a them problem than a you problem. They need to figure that out on their own, and that has nothing to do with you. So just like I said, at the end of the day, I always it's just an email.
Yeah. Yes. I hear sometime long time ago, I think was Jordan Gill, and she was saying like, if you are in business, you need to be okay with being misunderstood.
Yeah,
You don't have the space or the time or the willing to be making people understand what you were saying, how you said things. Like, yeah, there will be
exactly.
people that misunderstand you, and you need to be okay with that.
Exactly. And we're not for everyone. You know what I mean? And not
Yeah,
every
and that's
person is for
lovely.
every single person. And that's fine. You know? And like I said, at the end of the day, if they are having a problem with something you're doing, and as long as you know, I imagine most people in your space, in my space, in this space, in this moment are good people with good intentions, right? So if you're putting something out there with good intentions, you mean well, yada yada yada, who cares if they have a problem with it? Like again, I think that's more of an internal issue with them, not you. And let's just move on or shift the story or try and figure out where you can bring something out more into what you want to share with people and learn from it, right? Like you don't
Mm.
or let it go. Like that's the other thing too. I have a rule, I don't engage with psychopaths. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So if somebody's crazy, I just like I spend a lot of time on threads and I'll see people say crazy things and I'm like, no,
No.
no, we don't engage with psychopaths. That's my number one rule. So
We don't feed the trolls.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Oh yeah, we are not going in a tangent.
We'll go back.
I intend it, but okay, let's keep it there. Yeah, I will. I know that you work a lot around freebies and helping
Mm.
your community members with the freebies. So I would love, because you, something that you said before, and it crossed my mind, but then we continue the conversation. You mentioned how sometimes you go to the social media of someone and you see that you like it, and you know that maybe you are not going to have their post again in your feed, and you go to their website or to their profiles to try to be on their email list. But I would love to know your thoughts on this, because to me it has happened that sometimes I want to be on people's list, but I don't want their freebie. I want just to sign
Mm.
up to the thing. And then I get like, okay, I don't care about the freebie, but I will get the freebie just to be on their list because I want to be on their list. But they don't have an option to just sign up for the email.
That's so interesting. I'm going to share that with my members actually as a cool like point here. But I think I think several things are happening here. One, they may have a misaligned freebie in that case, right? Like I
Mhm.
that's actually what I've been teaching on a lot this year is I have a new program that's all about freebie fix is the name. So we're fixing freebies because often I have people that like come to me and they're like just my list isn't doing anything and I'm like you don't have your ideal client in here. You know what I mean? You have people, which is great and amazing. And sometimes you just start growing a list. Like when I first started growing a list, I just started growing a list. I have friends in there. You know what I mean? Like they're never going to buy from me, but they like getting my emails, and that's fine. So it may be the case of a misaligned freebie that they're putting something out there to collect people and not thinking about how it attracts their ideal client. Because I'd imagine if it was a freebie for you and or you're attracted to this person, you probably would be okay getting it if it was something that was actually helpful for you. Or, yeah, maybe people should have more just sign up on my list. And I do find that that's something people skip doing quite a lot is just talking about like, here's how to get on my email list. And it can be that simple. Like they
Yeah.
think they need a crazy freebie and like a full funnel and all this stuff. And like, I grew my list to 50 people by just saying, here, I'm sending an email this week, get on my list. You know what I mean? Like it was that simple. And I think we often overthink that. And so I think I agree with you that I think that there should be more opportunities and people should share more ways to just join their list. You don't need
Mm.
all the pomp and circumstance all the time.
Yeah, and I think that the two of them can work together. It's not that you need
Yeah,
to have one or the other. It's like just having a simple form there could
totally.
be good for that. But yeah, maybe I don't remember a specific case, but maybe it's a combination of both. The Phoebe don't being aligned with me, or me just being curious about the person, but not really their audience or their ideal audience as well. So I think it can be a bit of both. Um, oh yeah, I know that I wanted to ask you about the rituals because I was part of your challenge of
Ah,
the
yeah.
email rituals, and I would love to know how that idea of creating rituals around writing the email can be helpful for people that are considering having starting an email newsletter or starting incorporating emails in their marketing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was noticing when I created that offer that I had a lot of people that were like wanting to be consistent with email, but really just struggling to do it because we're busy people. We have a really hard time. And I realized that when I am consistent with something, I have a system. And if I don't do things that way, and I mean, I don't know, I feel like most of us, if we're business owners or whatever, we have ADHD, and I know I do. So if I don't have a specific system to how I'm going to do things, it's very challenging for me to get it done. And so I thought, I wish I could just show people that like writing an email could be fun, right? I think a lot of times we see it as another to do item, another thing we have to do in our business. And we get a little bit like just I mean, then it's not fun. You know what I mean? Like, who wants to do that if you're sitting there thinking, "Oh, I gotta go do this," and oh, I just don't like doing email. Well, of course you're not going to like it because you're already telling yourself you don't like it. But what if we let it be fun? What if we created it in a way that was a little more romantic, right, or a little bit more playful, or whatever kind of vibe you want to have? And so it is essentially figuring out how can you carve out this system to be more consistent when it comes to your emails, and then you look forward to doing it all the time because you have a system and you're like, ooh, I get a little me time to sit and do this and to write to my list and talk to my people. And so it's a little bit less daunting, I think, for most, in most, that was my goal with the program, was that you could get in there and just be actually excited to send an email to your list every time you sat down to write one.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like also I love the idea of having a ritual. This is something that I think is really nice to have this kind of positive, I don't know, reward for yourself. But then also something that I feel is really important is actually knowing that what are the topics that you want to talk about. And this back to the strategy, I believe that when you have clarity on what is the goal, what is the strategy of what you want to do achieve with the email specifically, I feel that that's helpful to not be overwhelmed by the idea of, okay, what I am going to write about, I should write this every week or whatever, but then what I write about. And I feel
Exactly.
that's similar, is connected to the personal brand story, because it's like this, I should tell my story, but I don't know how this is relevant for the audience or how this is relevant for my business. And then people tend to think, okay, I just share my story, my journey, but then it's more like a CV style or just sharing data, and that is not connecting back to actually your business. And again, what is the goal, what is the goal of that moment where you are sharing your story? So I feel like this idea of, at least that's how my brain works, and that's how I created this, the framework that I created is around, okay, when I know why I'm sharing one specific story, then I am going to do it with confidence, and I have more clarity, and then it's like, okay, I know the reason why I am choosing that specific story, so it's
Yeah.
helpful for me. And the same with the emails. If I know why I am doing that specific email or what is my intention with that, it will be easier for me to actually sit and do it.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And we all work a little bit differently too, right? So, um, I always tell people, like, it's really important to know what you want your email to do at the end. And I think a lot of times we get, people get caught up in, it has to sell, right? That's the whole point of email, is you
Mm,
have to sell. And like half the time you don't. You know what I mean? Like you can literally, I've sent emails about like Christmas ornaments. I've sent emails with like cookie recipes, they don't always have to sell, always be about business. You can absolutely add value. Like your value doesn't have to be educational. It could be making somebody laugh. It could be just
yeah.
sharing a funny story. You know what I mean? And just connecting too is also value. It's not, we all feel a little bit alone out here often. So it's nice sometimes to feel like somebody else either sees you or is in the same situation or is dealing with, we were talking about tech issues earlier. Somebody else is dealing with tech issues this week too. You know what I mean? It's just nice to feel seen and not alone. And I think we can do that in email, but often we forget we can do that in email as
Mm.
easily as any other medium.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say that personal brand story provides context, connection, and contrast. And I feel like that can apply also to email marketing. It can be a tool for bringing that aspect and showing how you are trustworthy and you are relatable and you are
Exactly.
unique, and how your business is unique and what makes you offer your solution different. So I feel like it can be a great tool to amplify that, to make people understand the context of why you do this and why it's important to you. It can show your values, and maybe fun and entertainment and looking for joy can be one of your values, and you can show that through the emails and the type of content that you are putting out there. So it can be also a way, it's not selling and doesn't need to be selling directly, but it's building that relationship and building the trust. So the person, when is the moment to think about that, or when you are launching something, is going to be, okay, I know this person, I trust this person, and maybe I need this offer. So it's something that I will consider to buy from this person that I actually like and trust. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
And often we need, I mean, I don't know if everyone's this, I'm this way. I need a lot of touch points before I'm most cases. I need
Yeah.
a lot of touch points before I'm going to buy something. And so I think that we often forget, I mean, I forget that too. You know what I mean? Like it's we can get in our own way when it comes to these things of sharing about our stuff again because, well, okay, we already did. If they were going to do it, they're going to do it. Well, maybe not. I can't tell you how many times I scroll social and I'm like, oh, I'll look into that later. And I'm like, oh,
Never
that's an
again.
interesting thought I just had that I'm not going right now. I'm hoping that they're going to post about it again and I will see it again and then I will get into it. And so I think it really
Mm.
teaches us that we do need to continually share and repeat ourselves. And I mean, gosh, how many times have you done a launch or shared about something or even like this talk? I guarantee you we'll have people who'll be like, wait, you did what? You know what I mean? We shared about it like 14 times over the last 24 hours. You know what I mean? And like people are like, what? Because they just don't, they're not seeing everything. They're not paying attention the way we think they are. And like they need multiple touch points.
Mm. Yeah, I agree with the touch points. And I understand. Sometimes it can be different because it's something super specific that I am looking for, and I go there even if
Yeah.
I don't know the thing. But if it's something more like bigger investment or something that I need to trust the person, I want to feel how I feel about the person. I have been
Hmm.
looking for contractor maybe for helping with my podcast and things like that. And it's like now I need to feel the person in a way. It's not just
Hmm.
I need a picture, real picture of the person, but I also need to hear their voice in some way. It feels
Hmm.
like I want to hear them talking. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
weird because it's like this that's nothing to do with how they are going to do the work. But
Totally, or just how they teach too, right? Like,
yeah.
are they gonna actually teach me in a way that motivates me or kind of makes me want to like,
Mm.
and
Oh,
like there's
yeah,
just so many things we need to hear
yeah,
to know
with the
before we'll make a buying
teaching,
decision.
yeah, with the teaching especially because when there is some teacher that is they are trying to push you and then you move from this rejection and then other is more about the inspiration and going to the motivation in the other way around. So yeah, that will be a huge part of how you get to learn. So yeah, totally that. Before we finish, I want to ask you your thoughts on something. So I get to meet people through guesting. They are guests to my side, or I go to places, and some of them they add me to their lists.
Mm.
Okay, we are not. This is not the question. This is like
Okay.
okay, this but what is triggering to me is that I don't know which are the newsletters and the email that are just for me.
Oh,
Uh,
interesting.
and then I don't know how to differentiate if this is an email just for me or it's a general email because maybe I am receiving everything in my inbox, which is not as clean as I would like to, and
Yeah, same.
it's messy, and there are a lot of emails arriving there. And then if I do a quick checking, I cannot see if this is an email just for me or it's a general newsletter, which is okay. I can read it in another moment, but if it's an email that's just for me, I know that I want to reply before. So, how would you do? I don't know if this is something that even you consider or have some advice for people about how to make clear what is an email that is just for one person and the general newsletter.
So, I mean, this is several points, but several things I would say. One, I think that I mean, and this may not be the situation for you, but I don't think people should add people to an email list without the permission, obviously. So, like, if you didn't sign up for an email, or even I think sometimes people take some liberties with this, and this is really gray area, especially where we are in Europe. There's a much
Mm,
bigger legal problem with this. But I will say that I think you just want people to opt in. So if they've filled out a form to be on a podcast, to be on a summit, to be on whatever, don't add them to your email list. Like, do not add them to your main email list. If you want to email them through your email provider about the summit or about the podcast or what have you, fine. But do not add them to your main list because this is where it starts to get muddy, right?
mm,
I personally like to use two different emails. So I use one for my business and I use one to get on email lists. So that way I'm not ever, well, I'm still getting sometimes emails into my personal or my business email, which tend to get ignored because I just don't read them in there. I throw them into another folder and I don't pay attention because that's not where I sign up for newsletters, right? So
Mhm.
I think you're doing people disservice by not giving them an ability to just sign up with whatever email they want on that email. Now, from the business side, you could do this several different ways. If you wanted to get really nitty gritty on this, you could have some sort of system in your, you could use a different email address for when you're sending newsletters versus when you're sending, personal emails to clients. Or you could also maybe have a naming system like, I wouldn't always recommend this because I don't want it to take up too much of a subject line, but like sometimes I'll
Yeah.
do this for like my members who are in my membership, right? Like I'll put ECM, email club membership, in the subject line so that way they know that that's from that, and it's not as overwhelming for them if they're getting another email from me or they're getting something else, so they know, oh, okay, that's a membership email. So I might do
Mm.
that for my courses and offers so that way I kind of know when those are specific. But like I said, I don't want you putting like newsletter 101 whatever and taking up a ton of your subject line,
Yeah.
because that will do you a disservice. But I
Yeah.
think just between all those things, we just want to be careful about when people come onto our list, making sure they want to be there, have them check a box, have them. A lot of times I see a redirect after somebody fills out a form like, hey, do you want to join my email list? Great way to get people to join.
Yeah.
Um, or you can do something like, if you just ask, right? Like, hey, do you want to be on my email list? I'll add you.
Yes.
Or if you don't want to, you gotta, yeah. But that way you kind of avoid some of these issues so that you're not getting bombarded with somebody's emails or thinking they're sending too many in a day, right? Like sometimes you're just like, God, how many emails does this person send? But like if three are personal to you and you had a conversation, that's very different. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah. I
does
feel
that
like,
help an answer?
yeah, yeah. I used to like, for me, I feel like I like the idea of having two emails, but then also maybe having an icon, an emoji, or something that in every newsletter, that kind of get about that is like,
I've been using a emoji in my subject line every email I sent this year because I'm really curious how that will
mm,
go. And so I'm testing it. And so that would be a really interesting way to do it too, of like an emoji for like email versus whatever. Now I'm like, ooh, I want to play with that with my offers too.
nice. Okay, so I feel like we can keep talking
Good.
forever and going to
Forever.
different tangents that we haven't, but maybe let's keep it shorter. And so I always like to give the space to, first of all, if there is something that we haven't touched about email marketing and it's something that you feel like, okay, this is something that I recommend everyone to consider. So just here is the space in case you want it.
I love it. I think if anything, I mean, just have fun. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of times we way overthink it. I mean, with anything we do, I'm like, when I say these things, I'm the worst with content. When it comes to email, I'm like, just do it. You know what I mean? But content, I like way overthink. But so I get it. But I would say just have fun with it. At the end of the day, it's just an email. Have fun. Like, what would, and remember this too, I used to write my list like it was a list full of strangers, right? Like I would be like, all right, I'm gonna write these people today. And like when I first started my email list, I was a wedding photographer, and so it was like women I had been with, I mean, not always women but men too, but like people I'd been with on the biggest, most intimate day of their lives, and I'm like, hello, friend. Like talking like this, just talk like a normal human being. And so once I realized I was kind of doing that, like, and that these people are my warmest leads, my best people, that really helped me to get a lot more intimate with my emails. And that's when I saw more success with email, was just remembering that these are my biggest fans, really. And like just talk to them like that, and talk to them like that's one person you're writing to and not this huge epic list of strangers, because
Mm.
ultimately it probably isn't.
I love that. And to me, I always said that whenever I am writing a template, like a message template or something, I always start with a real one. And then it's like,
Yeah,
this is a real email that I have someone in mind. And then I,
exactly.
I repurpose it, but I start with writing to a real person. So I feel like in general, with emails that could be, thinking of a real person could be helpful in my
Absolutely.
opinion. Yeah. Okay. So something that I like to do is have a last thought to summarize the connection between personal brand story and email marketing. So, how would you summarize the connection between those two topics?
Mm, I mean, God, oh, okay, this is such a good question and so challenging at the same time. So I would say I think they're so interconnected because I think storytelling with email paired with like an ecosystem of your offer is magic, right? So
Mhm.
that's where you're going to find magic. And sometimes it's a little scary, right? We have to be a little bit vulnerable when we share something. You don't have to share things you're not comfortable with. I think you share that too, Remy, but I think it's really important that we the things we are comfortable sharing, we don't hide pieces that are like because we're scared of being seen, right? Like
Mhm.
that's ultimately what I think it comes down to is don't hide because you're scared of being seen, hide because like if it's private to you, that's a completely different thing. But at the end of the day, let's just do it. You know what I mean? It's a short life. Go for it.
Yes, I'd say approach it with this idea of it's an experiment. So take
Exactly.
out some of the pressure of it. For me, I will say that both of those, personal brand story and email marketing, I feel like they are intentional tools to build relationships, and I
Mm,
feel they are great assets that you want to consider to use in your business, because yeah, you want to get as your business as easy as possible. And if,
yeah,
especially for people that writing is one of their communication styles, I feel like writing an email as if you are writing letters or just writing a message
totally.
to someone, you can
Sending a
use that.
text. Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
it can
And
be that
for
easy.
those, yeah, and for those that are more like voice notes people, they can even voice note the text and
Absolutely.
then
I have
repurpose.
a couple people that do that. They literally just voice it because they can't sit and type. So they'll voice it and then have it transcribed and put it in an email. So
Yeah. Yeah.
why not?
I always like to invite people to think about what is your natural way of communicating, like sending to your friends a voice note, or if you are journaling. So use that as a way to for your marketing. So you don't need to force yourself in something because it's a trend or something that everyone is telling you to do. Just start with yourself and see what it feels natural. So you don't need to feel work against yourself as a starting
Yeah.
point, right?
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah. Okay. So, where can people learn more about you and get curious
Yeah.
about what you offer?
I know. Well, I basically live on Instagram, so you can find me there on at Mrs. Vondi. But I would love to share too, if you are just starting an email list, I'm putting together a challenge to help you like know what the F to do to start an email list. Because I found that that was something that like actually holds people back. Like they literally are like, what provider should I use? What should I say? What should I do? I'm like, I'm just gonna show you. So it's totally free. I'll give you the link. And people can sign up if they want to and get that'll put you on my email list, but that'll also help you start an email list as well.
Nice. Yeah, thank you. I will add the links to the description. And for those who are curious about what kind of stories they can incorporate in their emails, they can go to my website, and there are resources about the story connector framework and specific examples and questions that they
Ooh.
can start asking. So they can put that into their emails. So I would love to know if people get ideas or if they have some comments. I will invite everyone to reach out to share with us if they get some ideas to start or to continue doing their email marketing and using storytelling there. So thank you so much, Shannon. This was delightful.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I had so much fun chatting with you.
Yeah, for everyone, see you next time.